gentlemen, we are here, you are there, and together we are riding this wave we call The Sweat, a show available to billions around the world. She's Jessie Cofield. I'm Emerson Latzia. Hockey, check. NBA,
check.
World Series showdown picks,
check.
But when we've got a real-life doctor
almost in the house,
yes, football is where we begin. Hopefully, we'll have Dr. P here shortly with us.
Yes, the legendary Dr. Seelan Parekh of the Fantasy Doctor is going to be joining us soon. But here now is our NFL panel of DK Live's Reed Fowler, Joe Holka of the Action Network, and Adam Mancuda, who hosts the All Out Blitz on Phantom Sports on NFL Sundays. So, gentlemen, we're going to talk the fantasy impact of key injuries right now, starting with Bilal Powell, who was placed on IR today by the Jets with a neck injury. Yikes. Some rumors that this could be career-ending.
Yeah, he's going to have surgery.
Like, really, hopefully not.
Yeah,
you know?
we're hoping that he will be healthy. So
our first question was going to be for the doctor, but now you want to just hop in with the guys?
Yeah, so, guys, you know the latest on Bilal Powell and everything Jessie just mentioned. So, Reed, what's this mean, though? Let's just say he's likely going to be out the rest of the season here. Who knows if he's going to play football again. What does this mean for New York's remaining backfield, though? We're talking like Isaiah Crowell and rookie Trenton Cannon.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can easily put in Crowell for that first and second down role, right? He's going to get the lead carries, much like we see in other places like Oakland, right? You see Doug Martin getting those first and second down carries. So that's Isaiah Crowell. We saw that a little bit in Cleveland last year when you had Duke Johnson. So that's his role. His role is that. We've seen Crowell do well in the past in spots where he's been able to run, Denver being one of them. But at the same time, Trenton Cannon is someone that you could potentially pick up. He is going to be that pass-catching back. If you're playing in PPR leagues, he's going to be widely available. But there's someone else, too, in that backfield that I'm interested in. It's Elijah McGuire. We saw him last year pop in certain situations. He's still hurt. He's a guy that I actually would take a look on and not spend too much of your fab bucks if you're playing a season long on Trenton Cannon. We just don't know yet what he's available to do. You can wait and see. I wouldn't necessarily, again, use your fab bucks to go out and get Crowell. There are some spots, but he's had the lead back role in other places, and he hasn't done that well. So I'm not too excited about this backfield. And it's really, it's really a team void of a lot of offensive powerhouses outside of, again, certain spots like Robbie Anderson and GPP. So in this backfield, I'm looking at Elijah McGuire, and that's it.
All right, Reed's not too excited about this backfield, but what about you, Joe? Isaiah Crowell, does he kind of get your blood flowing a little bit?
Yeah, so it's a decent price if you're thinking about him from a DFS perspective, 3,700. It's really tough to pull a trigger on a guy that's a 7.5 point road underdog. He makes a good point about how there could be other guys involved in the passing game at the running back position, but this week specifically, Chicago is second best against pass catching running backs per DVOA. So not totally interested, but not a ton of value at this point either on the slate. So it might be necessary, but I'm going to try and get away from it.
Adam, what about you? What's your interest in terms of DFS and then also season long here with the Jets backfield?
Yeah, I'm with Reed here. I'm going to completely stay away. There's really no one that piques my interest here. I actually think this helps Sam Darnold in his development. If you want to take a shot at him this week, especially coming off with the Bears, 3 straight games where they've given up a whole bunch of yardage and touchdowns. You saw Brady do it. You saw even Brock Osweiler do it the week before. I think this is going to force the Jets to throw the ball a little more. I know Jermaine Kearse was a very popular play last week, and then he put up a nice goose egg. I think he'll bounce back. They just signed Rashard Matthews this week, so he's another guy that if he gets in the lineup and he's active, I could see them going to him. I just think that this is more in terms of a long-term view for the Jets, where they knew they had to address their running back position anyway. And I think next year is where the changes are going to happen. And I really do like the call on Elijah McGuire. The guy was a stud in college. He scored a whole bunch of touchdowns, ran for 1,000 yards each of the years he was in college. But for now, in weekly leagues, I just don't like any situation for the Jets at running back. Crowell's a plotter. He's not a secure play week over week. I don't like him this week against the Bears defense. So for me, I'd avoid it at all costs.
Guys, here in New England, Pats running back Sony Michel suffering a knee injury Sunday that looked brutal based on his initial reaction.
Yeah, it did.
Very bad. But reports are he's only going to miss a week or two. So, Adam, with Michel out, is James White a lineup blocker, or are the Pats just never that obvious?
Yeah, I think that in this situation, most times you would say we don't know what the Patriots are going to do, because in some situations, Kenjon Barner might come up and be a solid back. But look, they have the utmost confidence in James White. He should have been the Super Bowl MVP 2 years ago in the comeback win against the Falcons. This coming from a Pats fan who obviously was crying 3/4 of the way through the game. But for me, James White, he scored all the touchdowns. He's an excellent receiver out of the backfield. His price is creeping up, though, so you may want to look at the other options in that price range. But I think this week against the Bills, they're going to have the extra day to prepare on the Monday night game this week. So I think they'll obviously incorporate him as much as possible. I love White. He's a PPR monster, so I love him. I'd roster him wherever I could.
Joe, is it time to lock James White into your lineup?
Yeah, I'm not playing James White at 7,200. I just think that there's still a chance that the Patriots go out and sign someone to kind of play that role that Michel was playing at the goal line. I see that he had 11 rush attempts last week, but I don't think that's necessarily what they want to do with him going forward. I think maybe he obviously has value, but it's at 7,200. There's just so many guys that have a higher touch floor, and on this large slate, he's going to be on the full Thursday to Monday slate. I'm honestly not really that interested at 7,200.
Reed, are you balking at that $7,200 price tag?
Yeah, because he got his career high carries last week with 11. This guy doesn't really catch the ball, or carry the ball, and we kind of see what we saw with Christian McCaffrey last year, where he is really utilized in the pass game, and they trust James White a lot, right? So from a real life perspective, it's fantastic for New England because they can put that guy back there and they can really trust what he can do. But from a DFS standpoint, that price tag and that leverage point is way too high. There are guys on the slate that I'd like a lot more because there is a narrative in this Buffalo game. Now, Buffalo has been good against the pass, obviously Tre'Davious White being a cover corner, and they've been decent against the run. They're probably middle of the pack in terms of giving up DK fantasy points to running backs. But 7,200 for a guy that needs to get double-digit catches and a touchdown to really return value at that price. I'm saying Wayne season long, he's an RB1. You like him if you kept him. Sony Michel, obviously, that's good news that he's not. It's not a season-ending injury. So James White and season long, absolutely DFS thing away.
Dr. Salim Parekh, welcome to the program. Why do you always have to act like you're busy and you have stuff to do? Come on.
I need to find a way to feel important, man. This is the way I got to do it.
It's all
like
good,
you're
dude.
a doctor. What could you be doing?
Yeah, right?
Like,
seriously, stop saving lives
saving
all
lives,
the time.
whatever.
Hey, but since we have you here, we're talking about this knee injury for Patriots running back Sony Michel. Sometimes an injury looks awful at first, turns out to be nothing major. Other times a player walks off and you later find out it's a torn ACL.
Very bad.
So are these initial reactions all just about the individual's pain threshold as opposed to a sign of the actual damage done here?
Well, I think part of it is the individual's pain threshold, and the other part of it is the scenario and the mechanism of that injury. If you looked at the injury with Sony Michel on Sunday, it looked pretty bad. That whole knee really twisted. He was screaming in pain, and I thought he was done for the season. I thought an ACL or a meniscus tear at minimum. So to hear a sprain, great news for Patriots fans. But I think it all just depends on pain thresholds and the scenario of the injury.
Now, Doc, Dolphins wide receiver Albert Wilson suffered a hip injury Sunday, and the team fears that it could be season-ending. It looked like a standard football play,
really
running full speed, gets tripped up, goes down. So how much does the angle and speed of the fall impact the severity of an injury like that?
It's actually critical in this scenario because the hip is like a ball with a cup. And depending on the angle and the speed of which you kind of push those two together, you can actually pop part of the head out. And then you can have a labrum tear, which is the bumper of the cup. And so that's the belief that he has a labral tear. We're optimistic that he can be treated without surgery, but don't be surprised later in the season to hear that he needs surgery.
All right, so after all that, Joe, we talked a little bit yesterday about how Wilson's injury could result in more targets for guys like Danny Amendola. I know you were not with us yesterday, but do you think Kenyon Drake could benefit from this with more passes thrown his way as well?
It's possible. I mean, they're a team that's run the second fewest plays in the NFL this year, is still splitting carries with Frank Gore. So I'm not sure how high his touch floor is. I'm a little bit nervous. Houston's been really good against the run, second fewest yards per carry. They've only allowed one rushing touchdown on the year, actually, and they've been kind of middle of the pack against pass catching backs. He's probably got a shot for 8 carries, maybe 4 to 6 receptions. I'm just not really taking a shot on a guy in the Thursday night game with that few of touches.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is a Thursday night game. So, Reed, with Wilson's injury, you think Kenyon Drake benefits at all here?
Maybe, right? I mean, those targets have to go somewhere, and if you're really looking at it, or those touches, right? And what Gase has done is he really hasn't shown an affinity to give Drake the lion's share of the carries, or really put a lot of trust in him. Joe's right; he's still splitting time with Frank Gilbert. If you look at now in the passing game, you have to tie, you have to sort of anchor this to Brock Osweiler. And Brock Osweiler, when he was with Houston, Lamar Miller only saw 3 targets per game. And if he really keys in on one receiver, we saw in 2015 in Denver, Demaryius Thomas was 7th in targets. Now Nuke in 2016 was 26th in targets. And so you figure that with Brock behind center for as long as potentially for the rest of the season, or however long Tannehill is out, those targets should be going to receivers. And so Drake, to me, again, like Joe said, in the Thursday night showdown, I'd rather put some stake in Jakeem Grant, who has a higher ceiling than Drake.
Adam, where do you sit on this? How high of a ceiling does Kenyon Drake have? You got to consider Thursday night game. It's typically not great play. These guys are on short rest. It's Brock Osweiler throwing them the football.
Yeah, I'm not high on Drake that much at all, and I think Osweiler, to me, is the biggest reason why. He's had 2 good weeks in which he's put up points. Last week was a little more garbage time in terms of points and his production. They haven't been giving, to Reed's point, they haven't been giving Drake the ball. I think someone that actually may benefit a little bit here, and I think they're going to try to showcase him right before the trade deadline, is Devontae Parker, who wasn't even active last week. But I think he gets involved this week because, again, he's a talented guy. You see with all the trades going around the league, all the guys that are getting traded for 3rd-round picks, 4th and 7th-round picks, Devontae Parker happens to be a very talented receiver. He just doesn't fit in that Miami scheme. So if you're a team that's in need of a wide receiver, like a Cleveland or even a Dallas, if they're looking to even further enhance their wide receiver core, I would certainly take a look at Parker. He's a couple years removed from being a 1st-round pick. So for me, they're going to try to showcase Parker in this game on Thursday night, and that's where they're going to go and where you can possibly get some value.
Yeah, Parker not very happy with his usage right now, and neither is his agent after the what he had to say over last weekend. We got one more for you here, though, Doctor. Aaron Rodgers hopes to play Week 8 without a knee brace, something he's worn since suffering a knee sprain in Week 1 against Chicago. What's the downside to not wearing it? Is this just a comfort thing for him, or you think it's been long enough for the knee injury to heal up?
I think it's been long enough for the knee injury to heal up. Between the MCL sprain and the bone bruise, that knee brace was really protecting him. But no matter how agile you are, the brace does limit some agility. So to now be able to play in a critical game against the Rams without a knee brace, I think you start seeing more of that flare back with Aaron Rodgers this week.
So, Reed, as we discussed on Tuesday, Cobb and Allison could return. And if Rodgers is feeling fully healthy, how much of a rushing threat could he be? He's facing, a strong Rams defense.
Yeah, I think you always, as a defense, you also have to guard against that. He's never really considered a dual threat in the, sort of the literal sense. But Rodgers is a guy who rolls out. He is a guy who can elude a lot of the defensive tackles, defensive linemen who are going after him. But you have some speedy linebackers for the Rams. You have Ramik Wilson is kind of a speedy guy, but you have Corey Littleton, Mark Barron. These guys are cover linebackers as opposed to thumpers in the middle. And so those guys, like anything, right, you're going to guard against that QB swing out that Rodgers always does. Over the last 3 games, he's seeing about 3 carries, Rodgers is, 3 or 4 carries. And so he is getting more comfortable. You also have to guard against it. I don't think we see a huge game, obviously, running the ball. I think these guys are going to be down for most of the game. I think it's going to be close. And so I think there's going to be a lot of passing and less running. So not necessarily staking my claim in Rodgers' rush ability, but his pass ability.
Adam, we saw what he could do with 1 leg. What can he do with 2?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest proponent of Rodgers going to run the game in this game, and here's the reason why. Rodgers, I think this is the game that I think the stat is, this is the largest he's been an underdog in any game in his entire career. I think the line was 9.5 the last I saw it. So what that means to me is they're going to be down big, they're going to be down big early, and they're going to have to play catch up through the air. I also think by getting Cobb and Allison back, that should open things up for guys like Graham and Valdez-Scantling, and potentially the running game, which has been basically stuck in quicksand the entire season. So to me, that opens things up for Aaron Jones and potentially Williams as well. But for me, I just think that the other receivers are going to just spread things out, and that's how they're going to try to attack the Rams. That's what the Vikings did a few weeks ago. And to me, that's the best way to try to attack that Rams secondary.
Joe, do you agree with these guys? He's going to be passing the ball?
Yeah, I go back and forth. I don't think that the rushing thing is that big of a threat. I get that, yeah, he's getting healthier and healthier, but the Rams have allowed the second fewest yards against quarterbacks on the ground this year. I do think that the biggest matchup is going to be this Green Bay Packers offensive line that's played extremely well this year. PFF has them ranked number 1 in the league against this Rams pass rush, who's actually number 2 in the league. So I think that that's where the big matchup's going to come. But I agree. I think that through the air, Rodgers has a chance to have some success.
Hey, Reed, a quick question on Facebook real quick, because we don't bring you guys back until the end of the show. It's a flex start question. Taylor Gabriel against the Jets or Christian Kirk against San Francisco? This guy's studs are on bye.
Wait, say that again?
So you have Taylor Gabriel against the Jets or Christian Kirk against San Francisco? What do you think?
I think Taylor Gabriel's going to bounce back spot. I think the Jets, you're always attacking that slot cornerback with the Jets. And so for me, it'd be Taylor Gabriel.
Okay, cool. Good stuff. Dr. P, you are free to go. The rest of you guys hang tight for a little bit. We're going to have you back at the end of the show. As I just mentioned, we have some NFL over-under to play. But first, NBA building blocks with Julian and Action Matt LaMarca right after this.
One note on defense special teams. I got a question from A. Snipes. He said, we've had this does defense debate matter for fantasy, but as a DFS position, does defense matter? With defensive scoring being high variance and offensive scoring more points than ever, is it viable to punt the position each week? Yeah, so I had actually already wanted to talk about this before I got this question from A. Snipes, but it's crazy, but these days the salary disparity on DraftKings between the best in-play quarterback and the worst in-play quarterback is almost the same as the best defense and the worst defense. In other words, like the salary difference between Jameis Winston and CJ Beathard was about 50.